With the pandemic going on right now, I felt like there was no better movie to review next than Quarantine, a found footage horror from 2008. Let's see if it can provide some excitement in these times of social isolation. The movie is actually an American remake of its original Spanish counterpart, Rec. Both films have the same setup, same artistic style, very similar characters, and for the most part the same plot, so I guess I'm kind of assessing two movies here. I am Foamy the Fearsome, and I'm reviewing for you Quarantine. This review contains spoilers, so if you do not wish to be informed about the plot of this movie, you can skip ahead to this part of the video for the review summary. The story begins with the filming of a documentary on night shifts, this time covering the nightlife of firefighters. We are introduced to the main characters Angela the reporter and Scott the cameraman. As I mentioned earlier, this is a found footage movie, which means that we will experience the events from Scott's perspective, or that of his camera to be exact. The whole movie will consist of shots from the camera, and the opening sequence primarily functions as an introduction to the characteristic recording style, and an explanation for why a camera was present during the events that will transpire over the course of the movie. We are also introduced to firefighters Jake and Fletcher.
And Fletcher.
Other than that, it is not very interesting. It's 11 minutes worth of making of, featuring about as much random shots and footage of people miking up as it features actual fireman talk. The rest is filled with juvenile humor that doesn't really serve the story, nor is it particularly funny.
I hope that's all for wide angle lens.
I mean, come on, don't tease us like this. Leave this bit out, or you know, show us the host so we can see whether or not we should be impressed. So during the filming, the alarm goes off for an emergency. Wow. I mean, I know their purpose here is to point out they can and need to be fast, but this guy had to be waiting out with those pants on to be out that fast. They're putting a lot of emphasis on this as the rest is also instantly ready. That's kind of odd considering they could also have been caught during dinner, or during a game of squash. And there is no way they'd be pantsed up and ready that fast in such a scenario. For example, in Rec, the original movie, they actually got the emergency call during a basketball game, and they were significantly slower there.
We gotta go. The siren. See ya.
Also, they explain they keep the jackets here, and we see them here, yet neither of them takes one? And if time is of the essence so much that a few seconds matter, why did we have time to wait for them to walk downstairs and get in the vehicle? A short ride and some more corny jokes later, they arrive at the emergency location, an old building where a woman was reported screaming. Despite being so incredibly fast, the police has beaten them to it. They escort the firemen upstairs while making it clear they are not a fan of the camera crew interfering with their actions.
I tell you not to film something, you don't film it, all right? I tell you to get lost, you get lost, you got it?
Ain't no problem.
Apparently the resident that screamed is some lunatic nobody really talks to, but her screaming is still concerning enough to alert the authorities, so I guess they're all just very considerate neighbors. The woman is called Miss Espinosa, and she does not open the door so the firemen have to break it open. Once inside, they start looking for the woman, and from a distance it's already clear that something's amiss. First of all, she's frothing like a deranged rabies-infected wild animal, or someone that just drank a gallon of detergent. She's also not responding to anything, is covered in blood, and she's growling and shaking. But then they shed some light on her. Hold on. There are plenty of red flags here on top of the ones I just mentioned. She looks like she's actively decomposing. I wouldn't go anywhere near that ghoul, much less touch her. They put gloves on, but unlike a laboratory, gloves alone are not going to be enough here. Told ya. After clear signs of aggression, the woman attacks one of the officers and bites him in the neck. No, not like that. Like that. Congratulations, you now probably have rabies. They carry the victim out while shooing the cameraman, who is filming this whilst running backwards. They run downstairs while Angela stresses how important it is that Scott keeps filming, like literally, as if it should be the #1 priority in this crisis. Downstairs, it is made clear that the building is being sealed off, but it is not explained yet why. The title of the movie might kinda spoil the why, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. The remaining officer inside is tasked with keeping everyone calm, with limited to no success. He tells Scott to get the camera out, but they argue to keep it on. But wait, let's go back a bit. They were explicitly told not to get in the way and to stop if they were told to stop, and he agreed to it.
Ain't no problem.
But he has a fuck you attitude and keeps the camera rolling constantly.
People need to see what's going on out here.
Why do people need to see this? She keeps stressing this as if it is of vital importance that the events from inside get to the public, but is it? Does keeping the camera on increase the survivability of those locked in? No. Does it stop the mortally wounded guy from actively dying? No. You only care about the great ratings you'll get for this story, so quit pretending you're screaming from a moral high ground, because you don't have one. They try to find a way to sneak out the wounded officer through a rear exit, because a street full of police officers instructed to seal off a building will probably forget to cover the back door.
Husband's outside, he said there are cops everywhere. They blocked up the street, he was getting antibiotics for her. We gotta get...
And then this dude yeets himself over the banister. Or at least that's my assumption, since nothing was heard until he was falling down. It's Fletcher, the mustached fireman dude, who upon closer inspection did not join the crew down, but instead stayed upstairs after taking out Miss Espinosa, who was kinda dead or something, but not really. Oh, and they're being treated by a vet with no supplies, who magically manages to stabilize these people, one of whom fell down face first, and somehow landed like this without breaking his neck. In the original, the same happens, but there he fell from 3 floors up instead of 1, but also somehow survived? But ignoring that particular incident, why would they ask for a vet? Firemen have medical training. Most of them are also paramedics, so they're probably more qualified than a vet.
But don't worry, most people won't know that.
We just learned this in the introduction.
CCC on the street or fire department.
I didn't know that.
And those firefighters are also paramedics.
They spent the first 15 minutes on unrelated fireman stuff, and it literally teaches you the knowledge necessary to realize that this is not realistic. Again, despite explicit orders to stay downstairs, the fuck you crew ignores the order and goes upstairs to check out Miss Espinosa's room, the one in which a feral, unpredictable, ghoul-like woman resides that has already successfully overpowered a trained fireman. There is screaming followed by this woman running into a wall and dying. We don't really know who she is or what she was doing there, she just dies. Then Miss Espinosa appears, growls, screams, and is killed by this cop upon approaching. The cop is shaken, as if he has just killed an innocent resident, but honestly this was the right way to go. She was obviously a monster in this state. There's some tension between everyone afterwards. The cop gets mad at Scott for filming, Angela goes nuts trying to ensure that it's all on camera, and Jake tries to calm down the officer, while also disapproving of them filming this. After that, they start gathering all the residents to get an overview of everyone in the building. So let's meet the gang. Angela, the passionate but somewhat hysterical news reporter, and her cameraman Scott. Fletcher, the macho mustachio fireman, presenting himself as quite the ladies' man. He's not doing so well right now. Jake, the more down-to-earth fireman who is actually way more sexy than Fletcher is. James McCready, the police officer who seemed to be in charge of the situation till he received a rather bloody hickey. Danny, the police officer now in charge since his buddy is bleeding out. Yuri Ivanov, the landlord that informed the fireman. And Wanda, his wife. Lawrence, your local neighborhood veterinarian that saves people. Kathy, a panicking mother with her daughter Brianna, who has had a fever for a while now. Allegedly bronchitis. Bernard, the opera teacher, and Sadie, his roommate and best student. Randy, a drunk lawyer. Nadif and Jahir, an African immigrant couple. They do not speak English. Miss Espinosa, currently considered patient 0. An unnamed dead woman, apparently a cleaning lady. And that's pretty much everyone. Except there is one more resident they are about to uncover. Elise. She's sitting in front of a static TV, which checks out, as they've mentioned that the cable was out. From a distance you can hear her growling much like Miss Espinosa. Upon closer inspection, it is clear that she too is a frothing abomination. Red flags everywhere. Okay guys, we've seen this before, and we've seen it's bad. All the same symptoms as Espinosa, who became violent and basically already took out 2 authority figures. What are they going to do with her? A. Kill her, as they know she's dangerous. B. Keep their distance and wait for medical backup. Or C. Touch her and bring their necks close enough for her to bite. That's right, C. But it doesn't stop there. Not only are they going to carry her without any protection, They're also going to bring her to all the other residents. At this point, it should be clear that you're dealing with something contagious, as 2 people show the exact same bizarre symptoms. Even if you can't identify what it is exactly, it doesn't take a medical professional to realize that it's contagious. And not only are you gathering everyone in the lobby knowing there is an infectious disease in the building, but you're also bringing an infected person to all the healthy individuals. Are you trying to get this virus to spread? This is about as stupid as licking turnstiles in a public subway station. Remember when we were trying to check for a back door? That's what we're doing again now. There is some interpersonal conflict, but some people do eventually check the back. Surprise, it's being sealed off and everyone is urged not to try to escape. Several people are trying to call friends or family, but nobody is getting reception. Meanwhile, Angela overhears Jake's microphone and hears it's a BNC, a
Biological, nuclear, or chemical threat.
Nuclear.
Yes, that's the only one of the 3 that's scary.
Don't worry, okay? It's a lot more common than you think.
Yeah, clearly there's nothing wrong. Only 2 out of 19 people died. That's a survivability rate of almost 90%. It's fine. Yuri informs Jake that there may be a way out upstairs, where they could jump down.
When I open the window, go to the right side and jump. It's only 2.5 meters.
Why is he expressing this in meters to an American? They don't use metric. I mean, obviously he's no native, but it's still odd.
50 meters? That's like 4 years.
Several armed forces are shown to lock up that side of the building as well. How is that an argument? Are news reporters immune or more important than residents? There's some more conflict after it's made clear that no one is able to exit, not even Danny. We then see that the injured people are moved to a different location, one where they apparently have better tools and equipment. But up until now, they've just been casually kept on the floor in the lobby. Okay, sorry, but I gotta wonder. How did he break his leg? He fell face first. It's a miracle he didn't break his neck, and if he had broken something else, it would have been his arm. They probably forgot how he fell as they just threw down a prop, and figured the result of such a fall was broken bones. After some dialogue that among other things tells us the residents don't really know each other, we see Brianna being interviewed by Angela, who mentioned she's sick, and that her dog Max is sick too. It's clear where this is going, right? Then after a little meet and greet session, a sound is heard and a zombie Fletcher walks in. No, come on, no! This does not work. You can't stand on this leg, much less walk on it. The imagery implies that the leg is succumbing under his weight as it touches the floor, but he walked all the way there? We also see him frothing and growling, so if you still weren't sure whether or not this shit's contagious, well, now you know. Lawrence, with his mad vet experience, identifies it as rabies now based on Elise's symptoms. This seems slow, as she was brought in a while back in his presence. I guess he was preoccupied, so I'm going to let this one slide, especially since he did figure it out after examination. But I am going to judge his lack of precautions. This is also the point in the movie where they explain it is some sort of turbo rabies that develops within minutes rather than months. Meanwhile, Randy wants to go back to his apartment, but is told to follow instructions.
Oh, it's really safe down here. You're drunk. You know what? It seems to me that if this thing is spreading, then maybe we should separate instead of sitting around here in a big fucking group.
Not gonna lie, for a drunk idiot, he makes a very good point here. He's not the only one trying to sneak out. Bernard and Sadie are sneaking to their room to watch the news.
The cable's up. Cable? We still use rabbit ears on our TV.
Hey look, some consistency. I like it. Once upstairs, they encounter a rabid dog. The door locked behind them apparently, but lucky for them, Randy just rolled his drunk ass out of this elevator and serves as a lightning rod. Is this how he tries to keep the dog off of him? I mean, I get that he's drunk, but he's literally pulling the dog towards him instead of, I don't know, kicking or shoving it away? Maybe he was tired of life and ready to quite literally embrace death. What's wrong? Wasn't it important that everyone saw all that went on inside? Why did this cross a line? It's not the first recorded death. Oh right, you decided to let him die here, and you don't want to look bad. It's fine when the police shoot them, but when you make the call, it's not suited for TV. Bitch. Once they reach the TV and readjust the antennae, they catch bits of a report in which they hear the CDC is here, and also that the building has been evacuated even though they're clearly still inside. And then the power goes out. Apparently Elise escaped, found their way upstairs, and entered their room despite them explicitly mentioning they closed the door. Eventually Scott mauls her to death with his camera in a pretty epic shot. I've given this movie a lot of crap so far, but this was rad. Well done. So they've gathered everyone in this room where the 2 rabies-infected people are lying on tables. Remember when this shit was identified as the highly contagious rabies, but on steroids? Yet they're still not using protective gear. Bring everyone to Rabies Central over here, and they haven't tied down the 2 sick people, even though I think by now they should know they're violent, unpredictable, and extremely dangerous for an assload of reasons. So the CDC is called in and they're going to examine everyone.
That won't work. That won't work.
What are you talking about?
Blood test, that doesn't work, not for rabies.
Nobody said anything about rabies.
This man did. Remember a couple of scenes back when he made his assessment?
Rabies! Rabies! Rabies!
Are they trying to keep that hidden? Or is everyone just poorly informed?
Rabies if it's rabies.
There's only one way you can do it. You gotta get a brain sample.
I found this bit hard to believe, and with a little help from Google, I've established that this is in fact sheer bullshit. A brain sample works fine, but it's definitely not the only way. In his defense, a simple blood sample does not suffice, so he's not wrong when he says that that won't work, he just overcorrected. They do a head count for everyone in the building, which is the first mention of half the residents' names, and in some cases even the only one. And there are still characters in the building whose names are never mentioned, names that I only knew because of the credits. Except for Yuri, who's first mentioned later, and the cleaning lady, whose name is never revealed, not even in the credits. There are 2 more casualties, but we also learn of another person in the building, so the amount of deaths is now 4 out of 20. They argue over whether or not their sick dad should be brought downstairs. Some say he may be the origin of it all.
He's the cause of all this. We can't be bringing sick people down.
Is there seriously no one realizing that the 2 gentlemen on the table are in fact also sick, and that what you're doing is beyond stupid? Also, she's being a hypocrite because...
Your daughter's sick, isn't she?
So now Darth Vader enters the building disguised as CDC, I guess, since a regular person wearing such a mask won't make breathing noises like that. There's some discussion about this, as according to the DVD commentary, it was purposely done wrong for dramatic effect. But that's dumb. You can't present it as unedited footage and then edit it to make it factually incorrect. If you're going to break your own style, you might as well just add a score and do it properly. This way it just seems like a clumsy mistake that hurts your film's credibility. So 2 dudes from the CDC enter and are starting their research. This bit is kind of confusing as it was stated that they were going to take blood samples from everyone, but instead they were going to take brain samples from the 2 clearly infected individuals. I suppose maybe Lawrence could have informed them? Also remember this list of samples I've mentioned they'd need to test for rabies? The source for that is the CDC itself, so the 2 people that entered here should know better. The camera crew wanted to enter, but they were told to fuck off. But they are the fuck you crew, so of course they're going to record anyway. The precautions taken are handcuffs and some sedative in a syringe, and they start drilling. Despite being handcuffed, Fletcher is not amused with his newly acquired hole in his head and grabs one of the CDC guys around his neck. Was he handcuffed to loose railings or something? If he has this degree of mobility, you may as well have kept him loose. They run out and trap the clearly bitten CDC guy and Lawrence inside, the latter of which resists, stating that he was not bitten. It is difficult to verify as the shot was all over the place, but they want to be sure, so RIP Supervet. It's kinda sad because I kinda liked him despite some questionable decisions and statements. After this tragic and not at all avoidable incident, the surviving CDC man is about to clarify some shit. What's going on here? Why are these people sick? Why is no one allowed to leave? Stay tuned to find out.